Welcome to MalcolmPresents.com and one of my favorite shows. Don't tell the other shows that. Conversations with Deborah, a bi-coastal dialogue. Bi-coastal because I'm on the West Coast where Deborah is originally from, but Deborah
Yeah,
now is in beautiful Greenville, South Carolina.
I am indeed. Well, thank you. What a wonderful compliment to start off this Friday afternoon. So it is cold, cold, cold here. We're expecting freeze warnings again. We had a little bit of freeze about 2 weeks ago, but now it's official. Fall is over, and so winter is here.
Well,
So
today it's in the 60s. It's a bit chilly, but
in California, yeah, I bet.
I think Sunday it's supposed to be in the 80s.
There you go. There you
So
go.
welcome to the weather in California, Southern California, because most people don't realize Southern California and Northern California are like two different states almost.
I
And
absolutely.
as far as weather goes, as far as temperament goes, as far as people go.
That's right. Absolutely. I was born originally in Southern California and moved to South Carolina here. Now I'm coming up on the sixth anniversary of us being here. So my husband and I bought a house sight unseen, bought a little 1948 bungalow here just north of Greenville. Here's one of the six cats that adopted us. This is
Yeah.
Max. And I know you said that you wanted to have something, a lot of people are getting tired of looking at the cats and things like that. But I'm getting feedback from many of our fans. There could be at least a half a dozen of them that say, keep the cats a coming, keep the cats a coming. Well, there you go.
What did I say? My people are tired of the cats? I'm not tired of cats.
I love cats. I love cats, especially these guys. Now that we have a house, there was no way I could turn them down. They all showed up on our doorstep, and they all are a good family, and they're wonderful companions. They truly are. They truly are.
Well, I mean, cats are fine, and I would have as many cats as possible if I had somebody to clean up after them.
Yeah, well, you got to keep on top of them. I'll tell you that. Between that, and we have chickens, of course.
Yeah.
And we're coming up on Thanksgiving next week. So we have some extra eggs. So we will be announcing to all of the neighborhood that we're doing our egg giveaway. Now, last year it was funny because when I announced the egg giveaway, I got no takers. Finally, I said, okay, forget it. I am selling these eggs for $100 a dozen. And all of a sudden people went, well, we want them. We want them. So
Yeah.
nobody believed that we were giving away the extra eggs because we have quite a number of people that do buy our eggs because our chickens are happy. They're
Happy
happy
chicken.
ladies, I must say. They're very happy ladies. So
Well, I have to
anyway.
come and visit. I have to come and visit you before you start raising pigs.
Oh, I don't think so. I think pigs are going to be, they're a little bit too intelligent for me. I like the fact that chickens are not all that intelligent, but they are very interesting
Yeah.
creatures. They
I
truly
one time
are.
years ago stayed on a pig farm in with London, not London, but it was England. I'm trying to figure parsley, sage, rosemary, and what's it? Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme.
Yeah.
What's the name of that? What's the name of that place? Or in
Oh,
Scarborough.
Lordy.
Scarborough. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
trying to think.
Scarborough.
Scarborough Fair.
Ah,
I stayed with some friends in Scarborough, and they had a pig farm.
very good.
And you wake up to the fragrant odor of pigs in the morning.
Well,
And the only pigs I like in the morning are like bacon strips
yeah.
being
I
fried.
know.
Live pigs left something to be desired.
Well, it's been an interesting news week, has it not? Around 1 o'clock this afternoon, this Friday afternoon, the verdict came down on the Kyle Rittenhouse. The jury came in after 4 long days, and they voted him as not guilty. What are your thoughts about this?
My thought, my thoughts are you can't be held guilty. Number one, for stupidity.
Yeah.
Number two, he was guilty.
Look at our president. You can't be held guilty for
our last two presidents.
Well, especially this one. But go ahead. Go ahead.
You don't take your rifle to a place which is you think there's problem, even if you're number one, you're not supposed to be able to shoot people, to kill people, to protect property. That's
Yeah.
against the law.
Yeah.
And
But that was not the case. The whole issue, and did you watch any part of the trial? I watched the whole trial, which was because as a news reporter in Los Angeles and in Orange County, that's where I really cut my teeth on the news business. I was assigned the courts as well as the county supervisors. So I got a chance to really sit in court cases, some very interesting court cases in Orange County. And so as a result, I'm fascinated by listening to the court proceedings. I am astounded, however, at the prosecution and the wily tactics that were used by the prosecution. I mean, the last situation with the videotape, where they substituted a videotape that was very blurry, they gave to the defense after all of the evidence had been presented.
Right.
And in fact, that videotape was one of the key questions that came up by day number 2 by the jury. They wanted to see that tape once again.
right.
And the prosecution, of course, gave them the crystal clear one, and they had given a blurry one. The crystal clear one, unfortunately, had been electronically enhanced. Now, interestingly enough, the software that the prosecution declared was perfectly legal and forensic and blah, blah, blah. Well, actually, somebody read the instructions on the software, and it said you can't use it in a court case, because what you're doing is you're adding information to each one of those frames, and you just can't do that.
Yeah.
But
Well,
be it as it may, whether you agree or you disagree with it, I was relieved to see that the jury made a decision, and you have to trust. As I say, I was the court reporter for the PBS station down in Orange County, which then merged with the PBS station in Los Angeles. So it was a big station for me to be a court reporter for, and I respect what the jury had to do. They are the heroes, not the rioters, the protesters that trashed Kenosha, Wisconsin, as the prosecution called them the heroes. No, it was the jury that are the heroes.
well, I don't consider the jurors the hero. They were just doing what they had to do.
Well, you had to be pretty gutsy, especially with a high profile trial like this. And with all of the comments, for example, Joy Reid from MSNBC saying that this was all a case of white supremacy and that he should be shown to be guilty, et cetera, et cetera. BLM got involved. They were talking about this was a case of racism. This was a white defendant who unfortunately was encountered by 3-4 other white individuals that were raising the Kenosha businesses.
Well, I'm not sure whether that would be the same verdict if Rittenhouse was black.
I hope it would be.
I hope it would be also, but
truly hope it would be.
I think the older I'm getting, the less respect, number one, I have for the justice system, because I see too many miscarriages of justice out there, and too many. I'm not saying Rittenhouse per se, but too many things based on race, too many things based on prejudice, too many things based on not necessarily race, but on poverty, that people don't have the wherewithal or the money to hire the proper attorneys and have the right defense for them.
Well, I do have to say, in all defense of all of the stuff we've been through this last 2 years, beginning in January, February of 2020, that because I always try to be the optimist about things, is that it has brought to awareness race and being equal, and trying to equate things rather than. So the thing that concerns me about what's being taught with some of the students we're now seeing throughout the country, and some of the curriculum, they don't call it critical race theory, but it's saying that because of the color of your skin, you're good or you're evil, and that's not America.
No. As far as I know, they're not saying you're good and evil depending on their skin, but but there are certain disadvantages of being not white in this country. I think almost in any country aside from maybe African countries where they're all black. But
Yeah.
I saw it growing up. Maybe not necessarily in the prejudice against black people, whether it be in working, whether it be jobs, even back east. Back east, it wasn't where it's against the law to be certain things, but you really didn't, even back east to a certain level, economic level, like in Brooklyn and things, you saw black neighborhoods and you saw white neighborhoods. You didn't see them mixing, and the black neighborhoods were always, most of the time, the poor neighborhoods.
Well, I'm reading an interesting book, and I would very, very much recommend it, by Brett Baer, and it's talking about Abraham Lincoln. It's a fascinating book because it talks about the treatment of blacks leading up to the Civil War. I haven't completed it yet, but next week I will, and I want to talk about it. It's very interesting.
Okay.
It's fascinating enough. In Greenville, South Carolina, this was one of the places where a group of black college students made a stand at a drugstore here on Main Street. Drugstore, of course, is gone, but the location is there. They made the stand to say that they were going to stay at that drugstore at the counter, and it went to the Supreme Court, and so it was one of the beginnings of segregation and of the
Civil rights
movement. Yeah, it's fascinating.
Well,
But that's the way Greenville really is. Greenville has probably a 50-50 mix between blacks and whites. So it's not a situation. I find it very refreshing to be here in South Carolina. Whereas when in Los Angeles, I'm going to put Max down.
Stop. By the way, your microphone isn't sensitive, so when you move your head, I lose your sound. You have to get another microphone. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. We got to talk that through. But at least in South Carolina, there just seems to be an evenness about things. But once again, I have to agree with you. For example, the trial that's going on in Georgia, the black man that was shot. Holy smokes! I've been watching part of that jury trial, and I think these fellas didn't have any reason to do what they did. They murdered this guy.
They did. The guy was black.
Yeah. So at any rate, but you got to watch these trials. It was funny because the judge in Rittenhouse said, I don't know whether I'm going to allow my next trial to be televised, especially of this nature. I think it's important. We need to, as Americans, be able to see the system and see how the jury system works. It's very, very important because there was critical information that was left out to the jury. And for example, the guy that kicked the Kyle's face in, they did not identify him. And yet there was some interesting information that took place after the trial has taken place as to his identity, et cetera, et cetera. But he was shielded from the defense by the prosecution. And there's going to be some real issues as to how this prosecution kept evidence from the defense.
Well, I don't know if I have told you the story about I believe in jury nullification.
Okay.
Which basically is, if you don't agree with the law, you don't agree with what's happening, even if the person, everybody says guilty, you say, no, I don't believe you should be guilty. Because there's certain things, there's certain laws which I don't agree with. So like prostitution, I don't think anybody should be, go to jail for prostitution, or even arrested with a certain amount of drugs on you that's for personal use. I don't think you should be arrested. You should be given the option of being treated. They should be arrested if he does a crime.
Absolutely.
On that. But like, well, now I'm a little too old for jury duty. I get, if you're past a certain age, they say you're exempt from jury duty, so I have no problem. But in my youth, and I went to jury. I always went down. I didn't.
So did I.
But like, if I was impaneled, when they put you on a panel, and and I was one of the 12 people, on the panel. At the end of it, the judge would say, "Okay, now I want you to know," and he gave us instructions. And one of the
Mhm.
instructions were, you got to listen to what I tell you.
Yes.
Does anybody have any problems with that?
Mhm.
And I raised my hand. And they
Okay.
say yes, and they usually refer to you as, what jury seat you're in. The jury list number 12. Well,
Yeah.
what do you have objections to? And I
Yeah.
said, I don't know. What are you going to tell me? And the judge says, I don't know what I'm going to tell you, to the trial. And I said, well, I don't know what I have objections to until you tell me what you're telling me. And then the jury said, and then the judge says, do you believe in jury nullification? And I said,
Yeah.
yes, Your Honor. And he said, that's illegal. I said, it's also for me to illegal to lie under, to say that I don't believe in it. But if something comes out, and you see this constantly in TV things where the judge says, well, don't pay any attention to what you said, because that's inadmissible, because they found the gun that killed him, but it was an illegal search. Who the hell cares if it's not? I mean, I care, and they shouldn't do it. But if I hear that the gun is the gun that shot the guy that killed him was obtained with an illegal search, that guy's guilty.
I know, but problem is you have to, the police have to follow certain rules, and they cannot plant evidence. They can't
I know.
do
Not
things
that they
like
planted evidence, is that they found it, but they didn't read him. He didn't know it was a Miranda Act, and the guy didn't say, what the hell if he pleaded guilty and is and it's proven that he's guilty. It's not right, but I can't disregard that.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I get very concerned about government overreach and the power that the judiciary has. In the case of Kyle Rittenhouse, they could have put this kid away for the rest of his life. And I'm probably only slightly exaggerating, but that could have completely changed this young man's life.
Well, maybe
So
it might change his life anyway. He might become a millionaire
no, I hope
if he
not.
gets the right PR people.
He needs to be an ordinary kid, which is exactly what he wants.
I don't
to
think
be.
he's an ordinary kid. I think he's well, my opinion that see, look how it's hell. I saw sort of like a bewilderment in his voice. They didn't know what the hell's happening and that he's doing. But that's my interpretation, which might be totally wrong.
Well, I do. I have the other problem I do have a problem with the news media. I used to be a news reporter, and as I mentioned, I was a news reporter in Orange County for the public broadcasting station. I was also a news reporter in Los Angeles for Cap Cities. I did work for National Public Radio. I was also down in San Diego with PBS. And once again, I just think that nobody knew what my opinion was, and that's the way it needed to be. We're not getting the facts from the news media, and it's really irritating. And it's irritating.
As a news reporter, if you're giving the news story, you don't have an opinion.
You are to present both sides, and yet what was amazing to me is the NBC anchor. What's the guy who's the NBC anchor now? He, at any rate, said
the national Lester Holt.
Lester Holt. I always had a lot of respect for Lester Holt. Seemed like a marvelous individual, but I started to really part company from when he said there's no reason to give both sides of the story if one side is completely wrong. Well, you point out why one side might be possibly wrong and why one side is possibly right, but not to give both sides is we're not getting the correct information from the news media. And people now, what's very, very interesting, a massive change is starting. There's a great awakening now at this point. It started up in Virginia with a Republican governor and a Black lieutenant governor being elected, along with a Hispanic AG. Now in Columbia, South Carolina, for the first time, I believe in 100+ years, it's always been a Democratic mayor. Guess what? Republican mayor.
Okay, let's see what happens. I almost, I don't necessarily, but I believe in democracy, because I think the masses of, I think it was Jefferson, I don't know, they said the masses are the asses. If you believe if you see the masses, you believe in mob control. So it's really not that. Even our Constitution is protecting the minorities against the masses, because the masses could do whatever they want.
Well, I do believe in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and I do think that we need to adhere to those and not try and manipulate them as the latest fashion seems to be.
Well, I believe in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I just don't believe in people anymore.
Oh, well, that may be the case.
That's where it ends. I don't know. Maybe the older I'm getting, I think it was Plato said, if kings can't become philosophers, philosophers should be kings. And
I'm ordering a book that you will really enjoy. It's talking about how it's talking about Socrates and Plato and how it changed an individual's life. And I ordered it on Amazon. I happened to read about it, I believe, in Epic Times, as a matter of fact.
Did you order 2 copies, one for me, one for you, and have it shipped to me?
Maybe I should. But it was a very interesting book because it's going back to that whole idea of democracy. And one of the whole reasons that you and I talk, because you and I have differences of opinion, but one of the things we're doing is we need to find common ground. That common ground is going to get us to where we need to be, because at this point right now, this fractionalization of America is not getting us anywhere. And for example, the bill that was just passed by the House, did you realize that the Congressional Office of Budget came through and they said it's not completely paid for? President Biden said it's completely paid for, this social human infrastructure bill, which is supposedly at 1.7. Well, by the time you add everything up, it's closer to $4.9 trillion. And the problem with that is that there were a number of accounting tricks being used. I happen to know about accounting tricks because my late husband, Tom, was great at putting together accounting tricks. Absolutely.
But the thing is, I don't particularly understand. I don't understand necessarily, when they're talking about the finances and what was done and so on and so forth. I have to admit that's way above my head. But there's a way of, if you listen to that same numbers tossed by Fox or the same numbers tossed by MSNBC, is entirely different. The end result is different.
But the number that is not different came from the CBO's office. And the CBO's office says, I'm sorry, your idea of having the IRS increase the number of agents by 80,000 is only going to yield about 50% of the additional revenues that you think it's going to yield.
Right, but the thing that I want, it's funny. I remember when Trump did the tax break for the corporations, and the Republican and the Democrats said, oh, but it's going to cause this deficit, blah, blah, blah. And the Republican Party, oh, we're not worried about the deficit and how much the deficit would be. This is going to be the trickle down economy. The corporations are going to be making more money, and they're going to put it in infrastructure, and they're going to reduce their prices and make better products. And what happened is, which happened in the past, the corporations gave more profit for the stockholders and raised the CEO's income by millions of dollars, and it didn't help the productivity of the companies.
Well, interestingly enough, at this point right now, with after the pandemic, and labor is now at an absolute utter premium. You realize that as old as we are quite a valuable commodity for many corporations. You realize that we have age on our side, we have discernment on our side, we've got experience. All of those things make a huge difference. And I think it's interesting. I would like to make sure that we keep the deregulation down. I don't think, because at this point right now, our gasoline prices are crazy. The price now of everything, the inflation situation is crazy. And when you have, unfortunately, a president whose approval rating, what are we down to? Under 40%? I think it's 38.
It was 48 or something.
Yeah, I think it's 38 now. And then I believe that Kamala is down to 28%. We got to start listening to what normal Americans are concerned about. We're concerned about making sure that we can make our bills, that we can pay our mortgages, that we can go ahead and fill up our cars and not take out an extra mortgage to try and fill up our automobiles with gasoline. I mean, I was astounded. We're down to like one tank per month. And when we filled up a couple of days ago, we had to pay an extra $16 to $18. I mean, that's almost at this
Yeah.
point right now, an extra 30 to 40%. That's crazy. For
Yeah,
people who work.
I
Come on.
agree, and I think it was along in the that he didn't do anything, but Biden is saying why? If we have the same supplies, why is gas so much?
We don't have the same supplies. We have almost 2 billion barrels less. 2 million barrels
well,
less.
the thing is, ultimately, the gas range is not due to our $2 billion less. It's due to the oil companies raising their prices. And as far as I know, there's no reason for it. The same way with our supply deficit. Why?
Sorta. I have to tell you that I do wish that we would have some wins for President Biden and his administration. I don't appreciate hiring an additional 80,000 IRS agents who can now peer into my bank account with my Social Security and my pension, because that's all we've got.
No. What I do is, as they were talking about, the thing is, with the lack of agents that they have right now, the IRS goes into your bank account. Why? Because they know you're not going to be able to hire the high price attorneys and to and for that, and for you to contest the thing. When they go into your bank account and my bank account, I can't hire the attorneys. I'll go down. I'll go down there myself.
Did you realize that we did? No, we are going to get an increase, which is cool because of the inflation. We're going to go up a big 5.9% Social Security. However, they've now raised the Medicare premium 14.6%. So come off it, fellas.
I want to get the benefits that the Congress has.
I know.
The medical coverage, and they have the medical coverage for life.
Yep.
And I want to get the holidays and the sick leaves that they have. But no, they're protecting themselves. No, they can't give it to the people. Oh, no.
And it is funny because people say, well, you're pro-Republican and what? No. I'm pro-American. I have some problems with the Republicans as well. They need to stand up, and they need to make sure that average, everyday Americans like you and me are able to be able to operate and are not being priced out of existence.
But I hate when they talk, when the Republicans say, oh, we're becoming socialists. Yes, we should become socialists. Why? No, they say, why should the rich give to the poor? And why? We are a Christian society, even though I'm Jewish, we're a Christian society. And if you follow the teachings of Christ, you would know that you give to the poor. You give to the poor people.
One of the teachings of Christ, as I believe, was also get the government the hell out of the way. Get them out of, do not interfere with.
No, but the problem is getting again, and we talked about this. The problem with getting the government out of the way, big business will be in the way. Big business will run it for their benefit. They will run it for not necessarily for the good of the people. They will run it for profit.
Well, the one thing that they need people. They need to have expertise. They can all, I mean, you can only AI only so much. The burger flipping at McDonald's and serving at Pizza Hut, but they need to have good, solid people like you and me that have incredible experience, and we need to be training the next generation to be able to.
That's why it's important, the community colleges.
I agree.
Community colleges is sort of like, not everybody can go to college.
Absolutely.
To me, a college education is if you want to learn, not necessarily prepare for a job, but learn, because you want to think. That's what I always told my kids. It's not important if you need a college for what you do, but did you learn how to think?
I agree.
The middle school, the community college could be done to trades, and it could be taught how to do a computer, be a computer analyst,
I agree.
or do with their cell phones or something in modern day society. And that
Mhm.
should be available. And that's,
I agree.
I agree with most of the programs that that will come through on the build better, build back
Build
better,
back better.
right? BBB. To me, the thing is how it's administered. That's going to be the key to it. I don't mind the money, and I don't mind even if, for my poor thing, that I have to contribute a certain portion of it. But it's how it's administered. Is it administered by the right people, or is it people who are involved with government and have the connections? So they get the jobs and they don't do it right. But anyway, I want to get back as we're talking about, because we have like a minute left,
Oh, okay.
believe it or not.
Wow.
Today I just went to the funeral for Phil Margo.
You told me about that. And I was stunned.
Yeah,
So
and
sorry. I know he didn't like me,
yeah,
but it doesn't make any difference. It's just an individual passes, and
no, again, I don't know if he didn't like you. He didn't like the way you were thinking on certain issues. And that's, everybody does. They cherry pick. They cherry pick of what somebody says that they dislike, and then they disregard the things that they say that they like. Oh, by the way, as I think I mentioned, there was a 60-minute show on a guy named Andrew Sullivan.
Oh yeah.
Listen to that, because he and if you're out there, listen to him, because he articulates more of what we're talking about. That this government and what we do is based on compromise. It's not based on people going to war with each other.
That's right. That's right. And on that basis, I think we have found some compromise. We compromised today and talked about the jury system and how important it is. And that, in fact,
but anyway, getting back to Phil. And what was funny, because I had never met his family, even though they live out here.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and I know his sister, and I've never met his sister because she lives in New York.
Okay.
And it was interesting. And when I woke up, when I went there, all his relatives were saying, "Hi, Malcolm, thanks for coming."
My goodness.
Because they saw the show.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I didn't know what they looked like when they told me their names. Oh. I knew them because I know the names of his 3 kids. I know the name of his wife. I know the name of his grandchildren. So it was a very nice, short and sweet ceremony, and it wasn't at graveside, because I think he's going to be in a, what do you call it when we're there? Sort of like, I don't know if it's a crypt, not a crypt, but it's sort of like in the wall of the casket, and so I had it there, and it was like a plain pine box, which I explained to. Actually, my sister-in-law took me, because my family's in El Salvador. She took, and I explained that, in the Jewish religion, you're supposed to have plain wood, because actually you're not supposed to have any metals in a casket, because when it hits the ground, it's supposed to break, because it's earth to earth and dust to dust. And I just actually recently I saw this Israeli picture where they took someone, they buried someone in a shroud, and then they just dumped the body in the graveside without the shroud, and it's because they want your body to go back to the earth. That's
and it does.
But the interesting thing, which I'm thinking of, and I felt for Phil. We did the show. I knew him for 10, 15 years, and a nice person, and
great guy.
But the thing is, it does not affect me in a major way that he's dead. I mean, I left there, and tomorrow I will be almost normal. I think about it and be sad.
Yeah.
But it has no effect on my life. Where the other people, his family, it's devastating effect, and it changes their life. But
it's got to be a life well lived, and I think Phil had a life well lived.
If you look again, I feel sometimes I'm promoting my programming, but if you do the Tush Twins that I had on, when was it, Wednesday, they did a show, and it was Rusty who does the show with Maxine, and they talk about growing up in Brooklyn, but they've been friends since pre-teens, and she considered Phil her brother.
Oh, nice.
And we were talking about him and some of the things, and a marvelous person, but such a talented person.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from being a founding member of the Tokens, He taught him as a teenager, he taught himself how to play the piano, and he doesn't read music. He said which I don't understand. He said he did it by chords.
There you go.
He learned the chords and he could play it like that. And he became a piano player. And he
Wow.
said, like when he listened to music, even, as a preteen,
Mhm.
he always heard the different parts of the song where the orchestra came in and the different instruments. So he was producing in his mind before he was a producer.
There you go.
And after he did his records, the Lion Sleeps Tonight, of course, is, I don't think there's a week goes by which I don't hear that thing someplace, either in a movie or a commercial.
That's right.
It was The Lion Sleeps Tonight. Now I got a phone call.
Oh, jeez.
I think it's. I'm
It's
gonna.
Phil.
In any event, what was I saying? Oh, I don't hear it in a commercial. Plus, he's done so many other things. He's written plays. He's written books. He's done movies. He represented people, Robert Guillaume in television.
Wow.
He was
Yeah.
a manager. And I mean, the more that I found out about him, the more I said, holy gee. And it's not that he studied any of that. What he did, he said, oh, that's a good idea. I think, and he found out about it and he did it and he spoke to people. He wasn't afraid to live. A lot of people are afraid to say, oh, I can't do that because what are people going to think of me? He wasn't afraid of that. He did it.
Well, same thing like with what we're doing here.
Yeah.
We're not afraid to be able to express our opinions. And I take my hat off to you putting together Malcolm Presents, because you have a wide variety of people. And I'm glad we've been able to keep touch despite the fact we have differing opinions. But
what I want to do is, if there were, I've been sending out all I've been doing this now is a Facebook, and I hope people are listening to it. But the people that I make friends with Facebook are generally in the industry, TV or
mine too,
or radio. And guys, if you're listening out there, we are available.
Yes, we are
available for this is podcasting. We're available for broadcast.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you have a slot, we're available on the weekend to do a show for you guys. Absolutely. And we can do it real.
And it's interesting. It's interesting talk.
Yeah, because I'm not worried about what people think about me, and neither are you.
Nope.
And we're doing it. But again, going back to life, it's so iffy.
You know what?
One day you're here and the next day you're gone.
But I was thinking about Phil, and he is a marvelous example of being able to live that full life.
Yeah.
And to recognize and to cherish each and every day. And we have that opportunity. Every one of us has that opportunity to make that life full, whatever the case may be as to what you want to do with it. But it's a good day to be alive, Malcolm.
Right,
it's a
but
good day to be alive.
It's never too late.
That's right.
I think of the years that I have wasted worrying about what people think of me, not doing this and doing that. So, oh my God. But then I think, yeah, but now I'm doing it.
Yeah, and you're doing it.
And for how long it is. But anyway, we're doing it, but we're doing it over 30 minutes.
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, remember, the best is yet to come, young man.
Yeah.
The best is yet to come.
Next Friday, and we'll probably be able to do the other case. And hopefully,
yeah, we'll see what happens. But have a very, very happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, you too. We're going to do that Friday. We're going to do that Friday of Thanksgiving, right?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. I'll see you then. Say hello to Fish.
And my love to Anna.
And learn how to do the thing with your machine so we can go on the road.
Well, I'd love to go on the road. That's what we're going to be doing next time.
Okay.
All right, now.
Bye bye.
My love. Bye bye.